Madam Speaker and members, I rise to also honor these fine and exemplary judges here in our California courts, and I think it's imperative that we celebrate the histories of African Americans and other people of color, not only during a particular month, but also throughout the year here in the state legislature. And as a former legal aid attorney and a former staff attorney with the Monterey County Superior Court, I wanted to rise and thank Assemblymember Davis for introducing ACR 47. And it's the leaders in the courts that have molded and shaped the civil rights advancements for all people of color, but also ensured justice in our courts for all people throughout the state of California. There's a long and proud history of African American lawyers and judges throughout our nation's history and into the present, including here in our own state courts. And I'm sure that we've all heard of Thurgood Marshall as a man arguing before the U.S. Supreme Court and winning the landmark victory in Brown versus Board of Education in 1954. But many do not remember his role in a case that challenged racial segregation in Orange County schools here in our own state 9 years before Brown versus Board of Education. Thurgood Marshall wrote the amicus brief, the friend of the court brief, in support of abolishing Mexican schools here in California in 1946 in Mendez versus Westminster. Marshall went on to become the first African-American U.S. Supreme Court Justice in 1967, and he was known to be called the Great Dissenter. But this vision to abolish the separate but equal, established in Plessy versus Ferguson, actually began decades before that with a distinguished attorney, Charles Houston, out of Howard Law School, who not only played a significant role in dismantling Jim Crow laws, but also trained a cadre of young African-American lawyers, including Thurgood Marshall, to lay the groundwork and set the precedent that would eventually be used to strike down separate but equal doctrine in the Brown case. Other great lawyers have come about through that effort, lawyers including Oliver Hill, Robert Carter, James Nabritt, and many others, but also those that were close and that were heroes to me, like Medgar Evers, a young aspiring lawyer who was denied admission to the University of Mississippi Law School, Charles Ray, who became the first African-American lawyer in our country's history in 1872 and who had to close down her practice because not being able to get enough clients to have her practice continue. Marcus Allen, the first African-American lawyer in 1844. And it's these great names that we have to recognize and honor as setting the groundwork, being the giants that came before us that also impacted the Latino community. I acknowledge all the work of the NAACP and many civil rights leaders who fought to pass the 1965 Voting Rights Act that also was used decades later to empower Latinos throughout the Southwest. This very act was used to strike down at-large discriminatory election systems and resulted in electing the first Latino judges in Monterey County in my district. And I just wanted to stand here today to acknowledge and to thank these many great African-American lawyers and judges who continue to have a rich tradition here in our country's history and who laid the groundwork for young Latino lawyers for me as well. And I want to applaud these fine judges who are here, and I encourage and applaud everyone to acknowledge their great efforts in our California courts as well. Thank you.